start now. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about onboarding in social context, but I don't want it to be like a one-way monologue. Rather, I'd like this to be more of a conversation so that I may learn something from you and you can maybe learn a thing or two from me. So, before we start, I want to start with a question. How many profiles do you guys have? So profile means like a LinkedIn profile, a Twitter profile, a Facebook profile. So maybe raise your hands if you have more than 3 profiles. Okay. Raise your hand if you have more than 5 profiles. Raise your hands if you have more than 10 profiles. Yeah, you don't even remember how many platforms you have your profile on, right? Okay, now let me know how many people here have more than 3 wallet addresses on any chain. Yeah, more than 5 wallet addresses, more than 10. Okay, there are still people. Okay, yeah, let it be a challenge. More than 20. There are people, I can see people there. Mostly you guys would be developers. I have maybe 30 different wallets for different development purposes. Some are personal, some are for just testing out stuff. So yeah. So how did we get here? So many profiles, so many wallets. It's really a jumble. I'm pretty sure you guys have all your passwords stored in some KeyPass or work file, maybe. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here, and let's start from the beginning. So Web 1.0, how many people have used Yahoo? Okay, so there are many old people like me. Yahoo is like a perfect example of Web 1.0. So it was like a read-only, one-way communication channel. And it was more like a newspaper, right? So you just had some entertainment information, some gossip, some news, and that was it. So more like the newspaper just got put online. So that was typical Web 1.0. And then the internet grew and progressed a little bit further, and that's when we started having interactions on the web. So more like read-write internet. So as internet progressed, platforms came into being, and with platforms came the ability to not only read content, but to actually interact with it. So like, share, subscribe, retweet, all of these stuff were actually contextual interactions, and what you were doing when you were liking something or commenting on something or sharing something was you were expressing yourself online. You were leaving a part of your personality or a part of who you are online, which we also call as a digital footprint. And then slowly, when this grew further and further, came the concept of profiles. Profiles are actually a very, very powerful concept, and they virtually changed the way that we use internet. Profiles seem like something that we've all accepted for what it is, but and we all like have, I don't know, 100 different profiles on 100 different platforms. But what do actually profiles do? Profiles have 3 main functionalities or 3 main features. They basically identify the user within a certain platform or a certain context. They contextualize their interactions, and they personalize their experience. But all of it is siloed within a platform. So let's talk about these 3 features or function in a little bit more detail. Whenever you think about a profile, you think that, okay, this is me, this is Hira, and my profile is a representation of me. But that's not a representation of the entire me. We as humans live in personas. We are not the same person everywhere. So right now, as I'm presenting on this stage, my speaker persona is activated. When I go back to my home, I have a small daughter, so my mom profile would be activated. These 2 personas are maybe completely different. I'm using English language here. When I go back, I'll talk to my daughter in Urdu. My body language here is different. My body language with her would be different. The things I talk about, the way I act, everything is different because these are 2 separate personas that do not overlap. And we mimic this behavior in our online interactions. So in our online interactions, we also have different personas, and each of these persona is then represented by a different profile. So for example, the stuff that you post on your Reddit, would you post it on your LinkedIn? Probably not. Even the profile picture that we choose for different platforms are different. So on LinkedIn, you probably have a headshot with the quote. On GitHub, you don't even bother to put most of people don't even bother to put a profile, and it's just a random generated avatar. Your Tinder would be showing your best self out there. So completely different personas. And that's what profiles do. The second thing, they contextualize your interactions. So we're all highly educated, intelligent people here, and we should be able to take information from any source as a fact, right? No matter where it is coming from. True? Well, that's not what people do. People always attach context to the information that they are consuming. So I have two fictional posts. Let's say something happened in blockchain. There's a news, there's commentary happening online, and two different Twitter X accounts post the same thing. It's the same content, but one X account has 23 followers, the other X account has 40,000 followers. Who are you going to believe more as being true? Whose tweet are you going to retweet? Whose post are you most likely to interact with? This is what's surrounding the information, the context surrounding the information. It changes everything. And that's also what profiles do. Profiles attach contextual information to a person's activity, and based on that contextual information, everything changes. Third thing, personalization. Personalization is a very vague term, but on the root of it, it makes the whole experience personal to you as a person. So what do I mean when I say profiles personalize your experience? There are three main things that profiles do when they're trying to personalize your experience, and that is curation, recommendation, and discovery. Curation is show the person what they're interested in. There's so much information out there. Why would you throw everything on their face? Just show them what they want to see. That's curation. When you go on your Instagram, your feed is curated. When you go on your Facebook, your Twitter, your feed is curated. Just as an aside, is curation something that happens on Farcaster or Lens? This is something we'll talk about later. Then comes recommendation. Recommendation is see what the person likes before, and based on that, predict what they would like in the future. When you go on Netflix, they recommend you the movies that you are most likely to enjoy based on your past interactions. When you go on YouTube, they recommend you songs based on your previous viewing history. But does the same happen on Web3 streaming platforms? Also something we'll talk about later. Lastly, discovery. Internet has petabytes, exabytes of data. Nobody has the time to go on a platform and find stuff through a bundle of different kind of information. Discovery is that you take the user from where they are to where they want to be in minimum possible number of steps, in minimum possible amount of time. That's discovery of content, because we're no longer going to libraries, right? Because discovery was really bad in libraries. But all of these features are all siloed inside a platform. Profiles started as something beneficial, but what they ended up doing is creating big giants, because profiles are now a business and competitive advantage. And that is why nobody wants to open up profiles. So you cannot use your Facebook profile or take your data from Facebook profile to any other platform. Cannot do it in X, cannot do it in YouTube, cannot do it in Netflix, because this is actually the whole business model. Nobody's gonna open up their profile data. And that is how we are now in a position where we have completely closed the internet. So because profiles are siloed, this in turn means that platforms cannot be interoperable. You cannot take your data from one place to another. You cannot reuse the same profile. And there is this dreaded cold start problem. How many people here know what a cold start problem is? Okay, so cold start is that a user comes to a platform, joins it for the first time, and it's like a blank slate. So the platform knows nothing about the user, no information about what kind of content they're interested in, what kind of things they might like. There is absolutely no way. So you have to treat them the same way that Yahoo treated us, It's the same thing, the same content for every new user. And then you have to encourage the users to interact with the platform, do actions on the platform that builds up that context a little bit, little by little by little. But in order to provide them with the same experience that these giants are giving you, you would have to do something extraordinary to build up that level of context that you can provide them with an experience that actually speaks to them. And this is the cold start problem. All Web2 platforms have this cold start, this dreaded cold start problem, because the giants are it's impossible to compete with them now. And then came the third generation of internet, the Web3. And Web3 came as a breath of fresh air because it promised to solve all of these things that we just talked about. So we talked about new ownership model, creator economy, censorship resistance, decentralization, all of these words. But the question is that are all of these problems solved now? If you look at the traditional internet right now, so like Web 2 per se, the financial part is very little, and the bigger part is the other part, like the social platforms, the streaming platforms. So an average person spends 7 hours per day on 7 different platforms. But these are not banking platforms now, are they? They are Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of these things that appeal to humans' social side of their need to connect on the internet. And maybe you go to your bank account once or twice a month, but that's just about it. Now, if you look at Web3, Web3 is all about payments right now. Web3 has very few platforms, and the few platforms that are there are also unable to engage or retain users. And I would go as far as to say that Web3 platforms also face the cold start problem. The same problem. We just said that the cold start problem is a problem because the internet was closed. If we have solved everything, why do we still have that? The reason for that would be a lot easier to understand if we see how people log in or connect to a platform. So how do people connect to a platform in Web3? It's definitely not a profile, it's a wallet. So what is a wallet? A public-private key pair. What can a wallet do? Hold some assets, do signing, have a public identifier, and that's it. What a wallet doesn't have, it has no information about the wallet holder, interests, preferences, skill sets, anything like that. Anything that can give some semblance of information to the platform to create an engaging experience for the user. And that is why it's very difficult in Web3 still to create engaging platforms. Now you would argue with me that no, Web3 has some user data. I mean, if I go on and if I buy an NFT, that at least shows what kind of NFTs I'm interested in. Or if I have a Lens account and I post something there, that can also have some information about what kind of topics am I interested in. So there is some level of user data in Web3 as well. I agree, there is some level of user data. But then this data is split across so many different ecosystems. So your Solana, if you have a Solana wallet, whatever you do in Solana ecosystem, you cannot bring that context with you to Ethereum ecosystem. And then people have different wallet addresses as well that are not derived from the same seed, and the problem gets more complicated. Then there are some platforms that ask you to create wallets from Privy or account abstraction solutions, smart accounts, all of that stuff. And then the fragmentation gets even worse because some of your NFTs are in this smart account, some of your POAPs are on that ecosystem, your lens handle is in a different ecosystem, everything is fragmented. And then on Web2 platforms, you have your Twitter, Instagram, whatever. That context is also fragmented. So fragmentation further aggravates the problem because then you have no way to derive any meaningful data about users' interests or preferences. So that is why Web3 platforms still face gold start. And I would, as in evidence, think about why airdrops exist. We as an industry have created an airdrop culture, but why does a platform want to give out free money? Like what's happening here? It's because they want to they give out free money because the customer acquisition cost and the cost to retain customers on platforms is so huge that they would rather give out free money and create these incentives like tap to earn, play to earn, run to earn, whatever to earn, make it all about money, because deep down, you're unable to bring them back to your platform based on the experience you provide them. You give them an in-person experience, they get churned away, and then you have to remind them to come back for some monetary incentive. Ironically, the best way to increase transactions is through engagement. And I'm not saying this, facts are saying this. How many people were around when Ethereum got completely congested because of CryptoKitties? Does anyone remember that time? Okay, I see a few hands. That was a crazy time. I remember during that time, I deployed a smart contract. It didn't go through for 2 days. I increased the gas fees for 3 or 4 times, and it just wasn't going through. This was a client project, and the client was like constantly shouting at me, and I was like, I cannot help it. I'm doing whatever I can. The whole network is congested. But what happened there is people got engaged. They were having fun. They found the experience good. And they were willing to pay crazy prices for this. And after that, of course, the NFT flipping and all of that also became a culture, but that was really the start. This happened because people were engaged. The second example is on-chain summer stories. So Base is a layer 2, and when it launched, in the first month, it became the most profitable layer 2. Not because of anything special that they did on chain, but actually because of a podcast that they were doing. So Jesse Pollock did a podcast which gathered I don't know the number, but many thousand or million, I don't know the exact number, but many viewers. And because people got engaged with the content that they were seeing, they started doing more transactions. So if you really want transactions, you need to focus on your platforms, and you need to focus on the experience on those platforms without the monetary benefit. And that is what I've been working on for the past several years. We call it plurality. Plurality represents your plural personality. It's like a wordplay, but what we're building is an overarching profile system built for the open web. So imagine you can create self-custodial, interoperable profiles that sources data from your existing profiles, and you can take that profile with you anywhere, wherever you want to go. So we call these smart profiles, and smart profiles are basically you can connect your existing wallets, existing platforms, existing profiles to your smart profile, which is entirely under your own control. And you can take it with you anywhere. You can plug and play it on any platform across any blockchain ecosystem. And these do not ask you to start anything from scratch. They just source the data from the decades of information that is already out there. And of course, everything is privacy preserving. You only share data if you consent to it. The platforms can only get it once. If they want to get it again from you, they need to ask permission again. So all that fancy features are there, but at the core of it, it's interoperable. Just take it with you anywhere you go. So imagine you can create your profile. So let's say you can create your music profile based on your Spotify and your Zora NFTs. And from that, some insights can be taken out, like you like jazz music or you're interested in guitar. And this becomes your music profile. And then you can take it with you on any music platform out there. Web 2, Web 3 doesn't matter. Then maybe you can do the same with your work profile, your social profile, or maybe for some platforms, you can also create your custom profiles. But the interesting thing is that these profiles are on decentralized storage, encrypted with your keys, self-custodial, interoperable. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can censor it. So we are really bringing back the open web. If this is something that interests you, yeah, please feel free to connect and talk to me more about it. Thank you.